Hello world, and welcome back to the Mind and Design podcast. My name is Tyler, and we are wrapping up this podcast season. Season 2 is officially found its close, and I am a little bit bittersweet about it because I've really enjoyed this entire past 4 months. If you can believe that we're already into the month of May. I said that we'd be wrapping up in the month of April. It just so happens that Saturday is when we do the podcast. So just so happens that we are in the month of May, and that sort of came as a little bit of a surprise to me, especially when your sort of nose is to the grinding wheel, so to speak, or you're very focused, in other words. I have had to pull back a little bit and say, wow, it's already May, and here we are. So very excited to really be with you and to close this out in Season 2, Episode 18. And it's been quite a ride. I hope that this has helped you. I hope that this season has really brought some clarity, some revelation, some understanding, some depth to whatever it is that you do in the design world, because you matter most to the world. So without further ado, let's get into our episode today before we close it out and go on a little bit of a excursion, I'll call it, not a sabbatical, an excursion for the next 2 months. We'll be back in July, but here we are today wrapping this up. Welcome aboard, and I want to encourage you to connect with us, subscribe to our podcast, and by any means connect, because we are here to be all ears for you, the listener, for you, the subscriber, for you, the person that is in our fan base, and you believe in design wholeheartedly like we do. It's going to be an exciting time. So welcome to what we are getting into here today. So as we get into the podcast here today, this episode, I want you to see yourself, beyond the norm, beyond what people have said about you, beyond the expectations that are maybe unrealistic. I want you to live in a space, just for a few moments here, that if nothing was impossible for you, what would you be doing right now? Think about that person. Think about that prototype. Think about that avatar of yourself. Because we're going to explode this episode here today. It is going to be an explosive episode of great insight and good stuff. So prepare yourself and think about that as we delve in. So as we look at the space of design, from the design standpoint, there's this reality that most people don't understand what it is that they're really producing in the world. They have an idea, they have a concept, they have a construct maybe. They've studied, they went to college, they went to school, they went to university, they've got degrees, they've got different certifications, they've really put themselves out there. But they still have this sort of unrest. And that unrest comes as a result of lack of ability to see beyond where they are, where they could be. Seeing yourself in your avatar is the ability to see the world from the space of anything is possible. And that's what we're going to really explore today. And I hope you're ready for it. So the Greeks called it poetikos, which is the poetic act of making. The poetic act of making. For those of you that are wondering, why are we talking about poetry? What is this business of poetry in the design space? Well, poetry is the engine room. Poetry I've shared with you in various other episodes, and I encourage you to go back and connect with us, because this entire month we've been talking about the power of what poetry does and how poetry is systematically intertwined with design. So, that said, we find that its influence stretches far beyond the confines of a page or a canvas. So as we look into this, there's an expansive network of topic that I could get into, but I really want to just focus on what it is that we're dealing with here today. What we're talking about, what we're discussing, is the echoes of influence, and how influence is the most, if not one of the most important truths to everything in life. If you can influence people to buy something, if you can influence people to see themselves in whatever it is that they're buying, because that's what influence means. When you influence somebody to purchase something, you're not persuading them to buy it. They've already been persuaded because they want to be talking to you. So, from a sales standpoint, the whole business of doing sales is to not sell anything. You might be saying, well, that's kind of oxymoronic. I mean, what do you mean? I mean, that's everything we're not to do is to, what do you mean? We're supposed to sell. Yes, sales are inevitable. Sales will always be there. The problem is you cannot look at somebody like a product, like a number. If I feel that you're looking at me as a number, I'll never buy from you. But if I believe in the mission of what you're doing, if I believe in the calling on your life for whatever it is that you're trying to sell, then I will believe in that. And in that belief, I will make an educated decision and I will therefore buy. The whole idea is to become rarefied. And that's where this business of influence is so strategic, because in order for you to be an influence in the world, I know we have influencers, that's different. That's a modern term for people that understand algorithms and a variety of other scientific backbone to how people operate. But see, listen, science can only discover what man produces. But see, man is the most intricate of all creation. And that's why we can never truly understand ourselves, let alone somebody else. And so therefore it keeps us on our toes, so to speak. It keeps us on the edge of our seat. It keeps us on our back foot. If you know what that means, if you're on your back foot, you're ready to go. You're ready to launch or you're ready to run. You're doing one or the other. But see, that's the idea with mankind, is people are looking at people and saying they are a number and they have money in their pocket, they have money in their bank account, they have money in their 401k, whatever the case, and they're trying to go after that money. They're trying to go sell that product so they can get after that dollar amount that they're looking for, that commission. People smell that from a mile away. You stink when you come around people and you're trying to convince them to buy. People do not need to be persuaded, convinced, any of that. If they are conversing with you and they're interested in the conversation, a relationship is being established, and therefore influence is being, or able to be, I'll say, influence is able to be made. Because influence is beyond the trust. It's beyond the relationship. It's an inner working. And when you can influence somebody, you can literally change their life. You can literally completely blow their life, what they used to do, completely away. And you can transform it into whatever it is that you want to see in the world. And see, that's the difference between somebody that can influence and somebody that's just trying to get some business. Never try to go around people and go after what it is that they have. Go to people and serve them. Service is the key hinge pin to influence. If you want to influence anybody or influence anything in the world, the key to it is service. You might say, well, that doesn't make sense. I need money. I need this. I need that. Blah, blah, blah. All of those things are written in the will of your service. When you do your service, when you do your duty, regardless of whether or not you be paid or not, you go there with a clean motive to just want to help. I just want to be a part of the solution. When you do that, it's like the entire world opens up to you. Everything begins to help you rather than hurt you. And so that's what this business is about, influence, and this business of the chambers of them. Because the business of echoes, we're talking about the echoes of influence. Echoes are simply chambers, echo chambers. I mean, you've heard that in school with biology and stuff. They talk about bats and echo communication. And we've known this stuff. It's sound. Sound travels, sound reverberates, and is able to communicate a message. And so those bats are able to communicate in a cave through echo communication because they can't see whatever. And so that's a simple idea of what we have access to as human beings, as people that are able to produce something unusual. Because we're doing something from a standpoint of we are the world of change. We are the world of discovery. We are the world of building something better for our planet and for the next generations to come. And that's the whole idea. And all of that usually is built out of extreme frustration, extreme circumstances in most cases, because if you ever look in history, if you look at the Renaissance era, all of that was produced out of frustration. It was produced out of the Dark Ages. It was produced out of various different trials and situations and policies and all of this stuff. I mean, they were just going rogue to do something incredible in the world. I mean, in a brief snapshot, of course, I'm not trying to really say that, this is the Renaissance in a nutshell. I mean, you can't capture over 100 years in a moment. I'm not able to do that. I can quote it, I can use quotes, I can try to paraphrase and give you a snapshot, but that doesn't capture everything. So I'm not saying one size fits all. That's not the case in anything, really. So when people say one size fits all, I'm skeptical, because why? Nothing is ever fitted to you truly, because in order for it to be fitted to you, there needs to be this relationship. There needs to be this connection point for you to know what it is, my size, blah, blah, blah. And you can step into that space by understanding the person from a relationship standpoint. So, but everything that you can see in the world that has ever been created, and this magnificent, a marvel to our eyes, a marvel to our world, has come as a result of extreme circumstances. Be it good, be it bad, be it indifferent, whatever the case, you can see it there. And we have constant reminders of this. We can look at the Colosseum. We can look at the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I mean, there's so many different landmarks. There's so many different infrastructures that are just there as a testament to this. As Sistine Chapel, I love the Sistine Chapel. I'm obsessed with it. Why? Because it is a picture of perfection. It is a picture of absolute precedence and prestige. It's beautiful. I mean, it's breathtaking. And so you can look at that and see just the beauty and the sheer magnitude of what that is all about there, and how it's one of a kind. The same with in India. We have the gigantic mosque that was built for this man is building it for love's sake, for his child that passed away. And you see this story, and you see this constant thread throughout history. And you look at the world and you start to see that everything has come as a result of some kind of pain, some kind of reality of this business, that we all have to go through things in order to pull the best out of us. And so, as we continue to explore this today, I want you to look and see with me, because there's so much that is hidden in the chambers. There's so much that is hidden in the echoes of time. But the beauty of an echo is it can communicate back to us what really took place there. That's why when you step in some of these places, it's almost like you're there. It's almost like you can experience what was going on in those times. Same thing with the Great Wall of China. There's a lot of conspiracy, as people say, and there's a lot of open dialogue of really why it was built and all of this, but regardless, it was built. And all of those, so I've heard, I haven't been personally, I'll be there soon. I mean, I know that I'm destined to go there and go to China and really do a lot there, business and so forth, but I really am captivated by that, because I've heard stories, I've listened to documentaries, I've heard various people say when they've stepped on the Great Wall of China, and other places do, I'm just using the Great Wall for an example, that they could literally feel like the rocks were almost crying out. It's almost like the place was, some would say haunted, whatever. All that's really going on there is you're able to feel the emotion, just the perfection of a thing. That's why people love painting so much. Why? Because when you stand in front of a painting that was made so perfect. It's like a picture into the past. And you're able to see and you're able to feel the brush strokes. I mean, it sounds weird when you say it, but ask anybody that is very successful in life. I mean, we record success with money. So I mean, if they're worth over $100 million, they're worth a couple of billion. I mean, these people have a taste for art. They have a taste for certain things. I'm not saying all of them do, because that's not the case. I'm not saying, again, one size fits all. That's never the case. But generally speaking, if we can speak generally here for a moment, you'll look at the world and you'll see that so many people are just experiencing this exact moment of an echo through time. When they are able to see Michelangelo's work and be around that. It's like, why you might be wondering, these older people or these younger people, whatever, they're standing around and looking, marveling at this art. And they could be there for maybe an hour, maybe longer, maybe less. But they're standing there, and this piece of art was made thousands of years ago. But yet it stands as a testament. It stands as a just magnificent piece, and people are drawn to it even till today. It could be hundreds of years old, could be thousands of years old. It doesn't matter. The reality is that thing was made so long ago, you weren't even a thought in the cosmos, but yet you're here standing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later, thousands of years later, and you're experiencing the impact of what that piece meant. And it's like it brings you back to that moment. And so as we look at it here, I have a poem by Gorham's inauguration poem. That's what it's called. And this, The Hill We Climb, is a vivid example of how poetry transcends the spoken word and becomes a sort of call for unity and resilience. Her performance was not merely an act of speaking, it was an act of design, meticulously crafted to resonate and inspire a nation. And so, shifting from poetry, I want you to look with me for a few moments here to the physical spaces. Let's talk about the architecture. Another form of poetikos, or poetry, for those of you that are maybe just listening to this now, if you're this far into the podcast, you're probably just catching this now. Well, poetikos, we're talking about the Greek word for poetry and what it means, what it stands for. So in architecture, the architect Frank Lloyd Wright once stated, follows a function that has been misunderstood. It's a form and function should be one, joined in spiritual union. Wright's designs, such as the falling water, they do more than function. They evoke, they inspire, they connect with us on a very deep level. So, much like a poem, each line of Wright's architectural designs carries meaning, an emotional renaissance, an emotional experience that speaks to those who walk through his spaces. And it's very true. I haven't personally been in any of his houses, but I've been in several historic houses that were inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright, and some of his students even. I've heard some of his mentees and devotees, people that really were close to him at the time or before he had passed away, they were impacted by him. They themselves went out and created things and made a marvel in the world. I mean, Frank Lloyd Wright is one of a kind. But I've been in places similar to. I won't say they were exactly like, but they're similar to, and I can't tell you the words that I could express to share with you what I experienced when I was in those places. It was this incredible feeling of like, this is made with excellence. And so, what about design in everyday products? The iconic Apple iPod. I mean, when I mention iPod, I almost have to laugh because it's so long ago now in terms of technology age. But the Apple iPod was not just a music player. Its design changed the way we interact with music, technology, and just crafting a new culture of listening and accessibility. So Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, believed deeply in the intersection of technology and the humanities. He once marked, "It's in Apple's DNA that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields us the result that make our hearts sing." And it's very true. If you've ever read one of the many books for Apple, but Chiat Day, I had actually purchased their book a while ago. I highly recommend their book. But if you look up, just go on Google and type in Chiat Day, it'll come up. It's essentially, it's got a giant apple on it for the Apple technologies. And Steve Jobs was a firm believer in Chiat Day's work and what they produced and everything about the product, making it sleek, making it robust, making it beautiful, all at the same time while functionality and all of these other aspects were intertwined. That's Chiat Day's work. And for those of you that know Chiat Day, incredible company. I mean, world-renowned and by far stands at the podium of success, influence, and really just is a wonder to the world. And they've become that because they believe in the spirit of excellence. They believe in that ability to make the world a better place through doing stuff that is seemingly insignificant in a moment, in a generation maybe. But long term, we appreciate that, at least I appreciate, I can speak for myself, that Steve Jobs brought back once he came back as CEO of Apple, that Chiat Day would be at the forefront of all of their marketing and all of their creative flow of what they were going to produce in the market, because that's what made them stand out today, and it's incredible. But enough of that. I want to continue on here as we wrap this up. I want to, as we ponder these examples, it's clear that whether through words, buildings, or technology, the act of making podikos is a dialogue with the future. It's about setting intentions, sparking conversations, and influencing change. Let's be honest. It's about making these things available to the world in a mighty way. And so before we conclude, I want you to really reflect and let's collectively look at the broader impact of our creative endeavors. How do our designs, our poems, our creations not only reflect our current society, but also shape the future? So as we prepare to pause the podcast, I really want you to be left with this idea. And I want you to see and leave you with this thought from the futurist Alvin Toffler. He said these words. He said, "The great growling engine of change, technology, requires a strong ethical framework and the capacity to understand human needs as its first source of design." I want to leave that with you. And I really want you to etch that into everything that you do. Because I don't believe it's a thought. I believe it's more of an actionable item that you can apply in any space and time of your life, wherever you are, whatever you're faced with. Because listen to me, it doesn't matter the things that you are experiencing currently. Those are momentary things. It's what you produce out of them that matters. It's what comes out of those moments where it feels like you can't go on, or there's some experience of maybe trauma or situations there that really conflict with what it is that you want in the world. And I challenge you to challenge yourself and put to practice these conversations that we've had, because it's powerful what can happen when you realize that life is really a baton race. If you ever been in school and you know gym class, you would go and they would have different types of things you would do throughout the year, but one of them was sort of like a relay race, or this idea of passing a baton. And as you'd run, you'd pass the baton, and you'd run as fast as you could with that piece of metal in your hand, that piece of whatever it was that you were holding, I mean, whatever they had. And you would run and run and run and run and run around this track. And then as soon as you did your lap, or 2 laps, whatever they agreed to, boom, you'd hand it to the next person. And then they'd do the same thing. And at the end, it displayed teamwork. It displayed the structure of unity together, this business of togetherness, and bringing us closer to ourselves rather than further away from each other. Because when we're further away, we can't do much. When we don't bring our ideas together, when we don't engage with others, when we're not able to see our business out there in the world with a whole mass of people that are building it and creating it and doing all of this business, then we cannot really have an impact on a large scale. We can't. It's not possible, because we were never designed to be alone. We were never designed to be this people of going after things with no intention of coming together, because the whole idea of coming together, you have heard maybe it said that it takes a village. Well, there I say to you, it takes a nation. It takes a people that are strong, that are brilliant, that are incredibly sensitive to specific areas, and let them take over in those areas of your business and build that thing. It doesn't even have to be business. I'm just using that as something to look at. But you can apply it to your home life. You can apply it to your art. You can apply it to whatever it is that you do. And look at that. Look at what you do as a prototype, as that avatar I was talking about earlier, to everything that you want out of the world. Why are you not getting the results you want? Why are you not seeing the things that you want to see, etc., etc.? And look at that thing, examine that. That is where all of your greatest moments lie. That is where all of the greatest challenges and the greatest opportunities are for you. So as designers, creators, thinkers, we are not just making for today, we are echoing into tomorrow. What will your echo be? Good question, right? What will your echo be? How will you use your creative voice to influence the world? That's where I'm leaving you here today. That's what I want to really drop for you as sort of a explosion of possibility. So, as always, I want to thank you for joining me on this magnificent journey we've been on through the landscapes of design and influence. Remember, while we take a brief hiatus, sabbatical, whatever you want to call it, we're just taking some time, stepping away. The echoes of our discussions will continue to resonate. So we'll return in July, and we're ready to explore new territories in the mind of design. We'll be ready to really help you, and I have some exciting things coming up. I'm not going to share them with you. I want to leave you thinking. So get yourself ready for that in July as we come back to this. So until then, let's keep creating. Let's keep dreaming. And let's keep making the mark. I hope this has helped you. And this is Tyler, signing off. Until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.